Still put into retirement, not enough of it. The only thing we start
Those
all
lantern flies learn how to hop.
Okay, so I am here at the Staten Island Courthouse, the Richmond County Courthouse, and I'm here talking to a few people who are not actually petitioners in the current case that we were here for today. We were here for a hearing in the DiCapua case, which is they were making arguments to be a class action lawsuit against the failure of the city to give religious accommodations to people when we had the vaccine mandates in place. But I'm here with a different group of people right now. These are petitioners in the Garvey case, and here's the lead plaintiff here, George Garvey. I'm sorry, petitioner. We call them petitioners in the New York State Supreme Court, but some people will think of them as plaintiffs in a lawsuit. These are the petitioners, plaintiffs who brought a lawsuit against the city. They worked for the Department of Sanitation, and they were successful. They prevailed in that lawsuit against the mandate. Their attorney, Chad LaValia, prevailed in his arguments, but the city appealed, and their appeal their full appeal was just filed on the 26th. So now these workers here, that original decision happened in October, last October. So they're still waiting for the legal process to continue. So I wanted to, they came out here to support the petitioners in the DiCapua case, and I wanted to talk to them for a minute about what's going on with them now and why they come out to support. So let me ask you first, George, why did you come out today?
It's it's a different battle, but we're all fighting the same war, and we're all in this together. I mean, we all had our lives completely upended. People have moved out of state. People have lost their homes. People have lost their health insurance. We're all over this, this unlawful and evil mandate, and we're in this together. And when they win, it's a win for all of us. When we win, it's a win for all of them. And together, I think we all have one thing in common: none of us betrayed their conscience. We stayed true to ourselves.
Thank you for your
because of that, they were not able to buy us or compromise us. They couldn't con us. They couldn't coerce us. And that's where we are right now. So we know we won. That was a huge victory. But things to settle. Looks like it's going to take a little longer. I'm confident. My spirituality has never been stronger. I feel, I'm very happy with the position that I took. I know we're right, and at some point, we will be rewarded. I think at some point, everyone, both the perpetrators and the victims, we will all get what we deserve. That's what I'm confident in.
I think there was a perception among a lot of people that you all had gone back to work for the sanitation department after that decision came down, because it did declare the mandate, which was then in place, to be unconstitutional under the New York State Constitution and arbitrary and capricious. And Judge Porzio, who's the same judge in this hearing today, said, "Okay, now you can go back to work." But what actually happened?
The city filed their intent to appeal the next day, so that gave them 6 months to actually file the appeal. And so they were supposed to file on April 24th, I believe. Right before that, they requested a 60-day extension, which was granted. And then when that was due, they requested their last extension request for 30 days, and that gave them till July 26th. And they basically waited till the midnight hour to file it. So now we have 30 days to respond. We could request an extension, I believe, but I believe the plan is to get this going because everyone needs to put this behind us and get this resolved and get some clarity in their life.
Get some clarity in their life. So did any of you go back? Whoops. insect attack here. Did any of you go back to work for sanitation at any point since that decision came down?
We showed up to work. I showed up to work the next day when we won, but they basically sent us home. They said to speak to our lawyers because we couldn't go back to work.
So you did try to go to work?
Yeah, we did try to go to work.
The next day. So what's happened since then? What have you been doing now?
I just started working for the past year and a half. I wasn't working. I fell into depression. But I finally got motivated to get up, and you have one life to live. So I just started working at a family-owned business. It's not steady, but until I can figure out what's the next move, I had a career. What do you do? I lost my career. I'm like, I don't know what to do. So just taking it day by day.
How long did you work for sanitation?
3.5 years.
Okay.
I was about to be promoted in the next class, and it stinks, but I still stand by my decision of what I believe in. So I'm hopeful that it will work out.
Right. What about you?
How long have I been out?
Yeah.
I was out I was working for sanitation for 5.5 years. They fired me. They basically denied my religious exemption on my birthday and gave me 3 days. So it was January 11th. What was it? 2021 we were? 21. 21. So they basically, on my birthday, that was my birthday gift from the city, and reaching top pay. 22. Yeah. And just been out of work since. Just doing what I can to keep things going. It's reached the point, it's sad at this point. It's really just depressing that this is the state of things, that they're just using us to maintain what they want to do. The city doesn't want to get rid of its ability to declare another lockdown, another mandate. They want to retain that ability. Our case is obviously a roadblock to that, and our livelihoods are the pawns for them to play that chess game. Ooh, should we, how do we stop it? Our case declared everything arbitrary and capricious, and if we go back to work, we are the roadblock to them doing this again. And a lot of people do not realize the gravity of this case being overturned. And I just wish more people would start to understand that, how important our case is, and have some knowledge of it, because we get very little airtime. And, I get it. We're just the sanitation workers. We're usually off the street before you're even awake. But this case is a case that's going to be with you, that's going to make or break New York State.
Make or break New York State.
Yeah.
That's a big claim. Why do you think it's going to make or break New York State?
Because if they can overturn our case, we are the roadblock to them doing this again. We are the roadblock to Hochul's quarantine camps in upstate New York. And if our case is overturned, they can do whatever they want next. They can declare this whenever they feel like it, for whatever reason, because everything was correct. They had the right to do it. There was a pandemic. Billions of people were dying. That's their justification. We know it was wrong. We know none of this was true at this point, but but from a state's perspective, from the city's perspective, they don't want to lose their right to do, their ability to do this again.
Right. Because the Garvey case is cited in a lot of other cases that are in court right now.
And it's almost like they're building up a wall around us, because I know that even some people who are going back are being told, are signing that the city did nothing wrong, that they had the right, that the pandemic response was correct, and the mandates and everything were correct. So they're building up kind of case law around us, where they can turn around and be like, well, the rest of these cases said that the mandates were okay, so then why was it wasn't arbitrary and capricious after all? And that's what I feel like they might be trying to do by pushing the stays that they are.
What about you? Do you want to talk about what's been going on with you since
I've
since
been
the
sanitation
decision?
for 16 years,
Uh-huh.
and I really and truly don't want to go back, because they showed me what they're made of, and it ain't much. I'd rather just get my back pay, get my time earned, and just ride out into the sunshine. But you gotta fight. And that's why I'm here today, to support, because every case that wins prevents the city from doing what they did to us in the future to future workers. And that's where I stand on that.
How about you? Where has this left you?
Yeah, well, I was in my 18th year with the Department of Sanitation. And then I got put out just like George and Danny and Mitch and all of us. And it's just wrong by what they did, They didn't grant us our religious exemptions, but they gave them to others. And that's what Judge Porzio said. How can you give it to some and not give it to others? If it was a deadly pandemic, it was either all or none. And the city violated that. They violated that. They've broken so many laws. And one of the things I can say is that we stood together. This has become a very tight-knit group. We send scriptures to each other. We encourage each other, with the word of God. It keeps us. And God's been keeping us. He's been keeping all of us. That, we're not hungry. We're not begging, panhandling out on the street, So he's blessed us. And we know we already won. So we just got to go through the process of wrapping this up. So I know Chad and Sujata, them teaming up. It's basically it's in the bag.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time.
You're talking about your attorney who was on the original case, who's still the lead attorney on the Garvey case, Chad Lavelia, who is now working with Sujata Gibson, who is arguing the case today in DiCapua.
Right.
And I wanted to point out the fact that you're talking about religious exemptions and the fact that you were denied religious exemptions. That wasn't your case. That was, the Garvey case wasn't specifically about religious exemptions in the way that DiCapua is. But I think that was really important to a lot of you, if not all of you, that you had been denied religious accommodations.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is. I mean, the two twins in sanitation, still nobody said anything. That a pair of twins out in Queens submitted the same letter verbatim. Like, one was accepted and one wasn't. It couldn't be more blatant than that. It really couldn't be. So they know everything that they did was wrong. They know that all of this that the religious exemption system was set up to fail. They allowed it. And the worst part is that people accepted it, especially our colleagues, our former colleagues. They accepted it. They allowed it to happen. And now the city, they knew that if they gave the city an inch, they were going to take a mile, and now they're taking miles from them. They're having them working on holidays. They're flipping the job upside down. And these guys they knew that they could do it. If they could take their bodily autonomy, if they could take their religious rights, they could take everything from them, and they would just accept it. And they did. And they have.
So the the appeal brief by the city was just filed. There's no hearing date yet. Where does this leave you guys? And is it different from what you expected when you began this whole legal process?
I didn't think. I knew it would take time. I was confident that we would win in the Supreme Court, which we did. That definitely got us excited. It was such a resounding victory. I thought on so many of the issues that were decided by Judge Porzio, that he really just crushed the mandate as far as the lawfulness and constitutionality of it. So, there was a part of me that was like, all right, well, the city's got to know that it's done, cut their losses, let's all just move on. But at some point, I don't know when it was, but it kept going on and on and on, and then, just stupid statements from the mayor, and then, what was he doing? Then he lifted the mandate for some, and he lifted it for the private workers. So at some point, I realized, I was like, you know what, this they're going to play the long game. And, that's like, I try to encourage everyone to just listen, stop, don't wait, don't be sitting around waiting for this to end. Get on with your lives. It's going to take a while. And here we are a year and a half later. They used the full time that they had to actually file the appeal. So, now we're on to round 2, basically. Mm-hmm. And so, let's see what happens. Let's see how long this takes. And who knows? If we win again, they might take it to the appeals court. Who knows? All we know is that we're right and we won. And to me, So to see to hear the mayor, like he goes on that radio show right after he lifted the mandate when he was going around patting himself on the back. And he made the statement that we can't have our employees thinking they can do whatever they want, which to me, I don't know. We got 50% between anger and laughter, and I'm thinking, I think what you mean to say, really, Mr. Mayor, is that what we can't have are elected officials who think they can just do whatever they want, because that's exactly what they did. They went around the legislative process, and they did so many things that are unlawful, and I'm confident that their time will come. I really am.
Let's not forget, teachers with fake cards are back to work. We're not, but teachers who got caught with fake cards, they're back working. We're not. That's because we're easier to replace than teachers, firemen, and police. We're more expendable. Put out a test for sanitation. Half of the city will put a thing at qualified cops, qualified firemen. They don't respect what we do. They don't respect what our job is. They figure anyone could drive a truck, anybody could pick up a heavy bag. So we're not cops, we're not firemen, we're not teachers, so we're more expendable. So that's why teachers with fake cards are back to work. That's why some people are back while their appeals are being heard. That's why other people have gone back fully, but we're not. Not everybody, but enough to say like there's a discrepancy in the law.
Yeah.
In the way that it's been meted out.
Another thing too, which is very interesting, is that he didn't even let us come back pending the appeal.
Right.
What is the violation? Like, what is holding us back from going to work pending the appeal? They did it for other agencies, that they were able to go back to work pending the appeal. What's keeping us out? Because you said you lifted the mandate now. Everyone can go back to work. As long as you sign a waiver that the city did no harm. We're not going to sign that waiver. We already won in court. Why can't we go back to work pending the appeal? What's holding us out right now? What is the mayor's reason for that? He's not going to answer that.
Yeah, can you explain what you were offered by the city? Because workers were offered at various points the opportunity to come back, and early on they would say, well, we fired you, but you couldn't come back if you take the vaccine now. And people said no. But there was another offer that was made. Do you want to talk about what that was?
The only offer that we got was that the city did no harm. So if we had signed the waiver, we basically, if we lost any time, we'd have to make that time up. 2, we're not going to get any back pay, nothing. You're starting from scratch, and the city just gets away with tyranny. None of us were going to sign that waiver. We came too far.
Right. Do you know anyone who did? Do you know anyone who signed it and went back? Or
One guy from my garage, BK18,
Uh-huh.
he was in my garage. 8 guys was given exemptions. 3 guys they fired. Out of the 3 guys, one of the guys, he's living in Atlanta now. One guy moved to Florida. He came back to work. He put in for to resume, but he had to sign the papers. He didn't get no back pay. He just got his job back. And I told him, I said, listen, you got to do what you got to do. But at the end of the day, you won. You didn't have to take a vaccine to come back. But he had about 4 or 5 years on the job. So he's back at work now. Meanwhile, we are still out. So it's hard, but you got to do what you got to do.
right. Some people had practical reasons to do that.
Exactly.
And some people have reasons of principle.
Yeah, well,
that they're.
we're on the principle.
Yes.
And the practical is some people can't do what we did. So somebody got to fight. Not everybody could be on the front lines. When you have troops, some are in the back, some are in the front. We're in the front line. And we gave up a lot to fight for the future generation. Not even in sanitation or teachers, just laws are being broken every day and nobody's standing up to do anything about it. And to stand up, it's going to cost you. Are you willing to pay the price? All of us are. The teachers are. Firefighters are. But this is what I think,
Because, not to get too personal about it, but you were in a career, like as you were saying, it's a career job. You have benefits, you have a career path. It's a civil service job. It pays well. Were any of you able to replace that with anything comparable?
No health insurance. I don't have health insurance anymore. I had to do dental work. I had to pay out of pocket. I have no health insurance.
Right.
How do you replace 16 years? You put 16 years in any job you get now, you're 16 years behind. You know, so a very good job.
That's
But
why
like I
people
said-
take these jobs, for the pensions. You know, no one sets out to be, I really want to be a garbage man one day. No, it's a city job. You know, you do you fulfill your terms of the contract, and then you get a pension until the day you die. And that's why people take these jobs.
I never thought I was gonna be working, pick up garbage and stuff. Even though I didn't do that every day, I worked in the dump, but I did drive the heavy machinery. And I sit here and think, yes, I do want to go back. I was a hard worker, and I'm like, what other career am I gonna start now that I would have retired before I was 50? Pension and everything. Like, it just set me back, but. And I do want to go back. I gained a family there, A lot of the guys I still keep in contact. They're like, Booch, when are you coming back to work, And it's not so. One day I'll be back, I have faith, I believe.
So you're kind of holding out for that. You're not like trying to move on to another career job.
I don't, my dream job was always to become a teacher, but I would have been still in this predicament still, but we'll see. I'm taking it day by day. I'm still figuring out, what, I'm happy with what I'm at right now. It's a flexible schedule, If I need off, I can get off with the job that I have now. But yeah, I do want to go back to sanitation.
All right. Is there anything else you guys want to say to New Yorkers, and, people out there about your case or this issue in general?
You can keep running from New York. You can run as far. You can run to Florida. You can run to Tennessee. You can run from Virginia. But whatever they do here, it's going to come to you next. So you may as well fight for this place first. You may as well fight for your home. Wake up. Recognize the power, especially if you're a sanitation worker. You own every street in New York City. Any street that has a corner basket or a residential house belongs to you. If you want change, if you want to see things fixed, if you want us back to work, all you got to do is recognize that. You own every street in New York. Think about that. Next time you say, what am I supposed to do? Think about that.
All right. Well, I want to thank you all for talking with me, giving me a little update, and
Thank you for being one of the very few voices covering what is essentially a crime scene. So we appreciate it. Thank you.
all right. Well,
Thank you.
see you at the next court date.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for giving us
Thank you.
a
We
voice.
appreciate it.
Thank you.